What's up, A to Z Sports here live on a Monday. It is the last Monday of the off season, kinda. I mean, if you count next Monday before the Titans open training camp on Tuesday, this is the last Monday of the off season, the last week of the off season before the Titans are back on the practice field at training camp for 2025 NFL season. Oh, and we're gonna have a week of shows to get us ready and rolling here. Easton, you've got a little bit of a family trip at the tail end of the week to get your reset button hit before training camp starts. Brian Roberts is back from his vacation. We are live moving forward this week. We have an announcement maybe later on next week, I think. And you've got your last movie review on Friday that you'll do from vacation.
That's right. You buried the lead.
That's right. We'll discuss all of this. But last week we hit on some of the top 10 rankings in the position groups that ESPN has been putting out there, polling NFL executives, scouts, coaches, coordinators, whatever, over the last couple of weeks. And we're going to talk about players most likely to take the top 10 status jump after this season. So a little bit of a different conversation. I will give credit to Ramon and Will on 104.5 The Zone. I heard them tease this topic last week. I did not hear them discuss it. So I heard them tease it, and I was like, I like it. Easton and I are going to use that. So shout out to Ramon and Will over on 104.5 for the topic assists of the morning. And we put our own little flavor on it. We've got cool, warm, and flaming takes from Easton Freeze. Easton, welcome in. We've also got our Rockin' Rando for the first time in a couple weeks, too. So I'll get the Rockin' Rando loaded for you at the end of the show. What's going on? I hope you had a good weekend.
What up, what up? Had a good weekend. Hope that you did as well. Hope that everybody in the comments, in the chat, had a great weekend. Excited to knock this week out and get into actual things happening.
Right.
I'm on, this week I'm staring down the barrel of my 60th article this summer without new things to talk about, which is, if you couldn't guess, the bottom of the barrel is, I've almost scraped through the bottom of the barrel to the other end of the barrel. So
what do you mean without new things? You've had new things happen?
New things have not happened for 5 weeks, Austin. What are you talking about? Nothing.
New things happen. It's created by other people, but they're new things to everybody.
Yeah, they're not new in the real world. They're new in the media world. They're new to talk about, but they're not new real things happening by football players and coaches on the field and in the league.
So you're being very specific with your new things. New things from players.
You're being ornery. You know exactly what I mean. We've not had new things for 5 weeks.
I'm saying there's always new things.
Chat, have we had new things for 5 weeks? Yes or no? Let's just see.
There's been new things.
There's not been new things.
Well, there's a new thing that happened in Fort Lauderdale that affects the Cleveland Browns over the weekend.
Well, not all of us are blessed. Not all of our markets are blessed with that kind of new thing. I don't know if that's a blessing or a curse. It is something to talk about, but is it what you want to talk about?
And how does that affect Femi Oladejo? There's some stuff.
Well, that doesn't affect Femi. Other things affect Femi. Well, that might affect Femi. We'll see. There's other bigger topics.
There's new things, Easton. You're just complaining about what's
no.
You watched 3 new movies since then.
Yeah, like I said, new important things. None of those have been important. I'm looking forward to actual football. Your bar for things is way too low, Austin. You need a higher bar for things. We're gonna get some decent things next week. That's what I'm trying to be excited about. And you're just acting like July 4th isn't a difficult week for content when it clearly is. So we have new things coming up next week. So the bottom line is I'm excited to be done with this week because it's the last week without new things. We do have the very last couple of not new things to talk about, though. Some preview things to the new things this week. And I think today's conversation is starting with the guys that we are about to, when the new things start, see potentially take a massive leap this year and be a big conversation. A big part of why the Titans either sink or swim this year, I think, is a great place to start. So looking forward to our conversation. But first, make sure you liked the show on Facebook, on YouTube. Hit that like button for us, and then jump into the comments with Elmer and Bork and Caps and Jason and Steven and Daniel and Caleb. Good morning to all of you. Cap saying Easton acting like Space Jam didn't actually change my life. It did change my life in all ways for the worse. So that is true. Good point from Caps. Looking forward to, I hope, because the bar is extremely low, a better movie this week, which I will be watching at some point before Friday.
Hardball will make you cry.
Is Hardball a better movie than Space Jam, according to Austin?
I mean, it was like, it was it's a different movie. They're not on the
better?
same plane. They're not on the same planes of content.
But what is a higher quality movie?
I mean, I'm guessing Hardball had a bigger budget. I don't know. I don't know how much Michael Jordan.
Actually, I don't know. How much did Michael make? How much did Michael make? I don't know about that. And they had a lot of advertising in that movie because
let's just say nobody's calling Space Jam a film. You could call Hardball a film.
Okay, so then Hardball's a better movie then. That's all I needed to know.
Again,
all right, so good morning. Have every
so frustrating.
I'm gonna mute you. Looking forward to that. Looking forward to today's conversation. Start the show, Austin. Let's just
longest cold open in the history. All right,
the
officially
least,
5 and almost 6 minutes into it.
Ever.
Yeah. Welcome to A to Z Sports here live on a Monday. I'm Austin Stanley. He is Easton Freeze. We go live every weekday mornings at 8 o'clock Central Time at A to Z Sports, Nashville's on-demand sports talk network, here on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Links to the show segment by segment on our Twitter X timeline. Hit us up on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads for more great Titans content. Got to thank our sponsors because they make it happen for us and they help out all of you. Wilson County Hyundai, make them a part of your new car buying process. See them in Lebanon or online, wilsoncountyhyundai.com. The Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. And Barton Drury Insurance Group, customized solutions for all of your insurance needs. They are online at bartondrury.com. Also, give us that 5-star Google review. That goes a long way for us and our company. So, Easton, officially to the content, that was probably my fastest official open of the show. It was under a minute. Anyway, so to the conversation at hand. So, the top 10 lists for ESPN are done, right? They have gone through all of the no.
Mm-mm. No,
the Titans participation in the top 10 list.
That part has to be true. There's definitely not any more Titans coming up. Yes. But I think that they're a little bit past halfway. I saw that the quarterback one came out today.
Yeah, I think they have receivers and running backs left.
They've got receivers, running backs, tight ends, edge. Actually, no, they did tight ends already. At least 3 or 4 position groups left. So
they have some coming, but the Titans will not be involved.
The kicker list, I don't know. The specialist.
Did they do that? I don't know.
I hope not. I don't think so. Did you see that Auburn signed a 5-star long snapper this week on just a tangent on special teams? Did you know that long snappers can be 5 stars? That was
I think they have their own ratings system. I think they're like Space Jam and Hardball. They're separate. Like both are important.
I just saw the tweets like Auburn signs 5-star, and I'm like, oh, who? Long snapper.
Hey,
all right, sure.
It's important.
You got a big on-3 graphic and everything, a hype graphic. It was wild.
Nice. So anyway, but the Titans are probably done. Jeffrey Simmons is 4th in his position group on the defensive line. We talked about that a lot last week. Peter Skronski, Steven brings up, was he an honorable mention? He was. Skronski was an honorable mention.
And then Zeitler was also voted. Yeah.
So the 2 guards were just outside the interior linemen rankings, which is not just guards, but centers included. And obviously with Cushenberry's Achilles injury, he is not involved in that either.
Titans would be on the long snapper list if it existed. Just let that be known.
For sure. So with that being done, I heard Ramon and Will talk about this, tease the topic last week at some point. What Titans are more likely to be in this conversation in the top 10 at their position next year? And I floated that over to you. You like the idea. You wrote an article in your own way about it, and you have tiered 9 players, bless you, into 3 categories. 9 players you have that you think could get in the top 10 of their position next year, and you have them in cool, warm, and flaming takes.
Yes.
So the flaming take is like, it would be insane if this player made the top 10 at their position.
Insane, but technically plausible, right? Because you could just do all the guys on the whole team, right? There's a path for these guys. It's just really hard to see.
Yes. The most difficult you're sticking your neck out there a little further path of how it could happen, right? That's
the talent exists. It's just I'll believe it when I see it. Like Tyler Lockett's not making this list. You know what I mean? But there are guys that have ceilings on this team that could potentially put them on this list if they pull the wheel, the slot wheel, and they get 777s this year. But got to hit the jackpot.
Right. So we're going to start with your cool takes.
Right.
Because you have 2 players that you think are more likely than the other 7 to be in the top 10 of their position rankings. So, Easton, I'll let you set the table. And what we're going to do, we're just going to go through and ask on a scale of 1 through 10, how likely are they to be top 10 in their position next year? But we'll start with your cool takes. And I think it makes sense that Jeffrey Simmons is on the cool take because he is number 4, right? So we'll start it off right there, Easton.
Yeah, I'll even go a step further. These aren't guys that I'd put it as these are the guys that I actively expect to be on the list next year. Like I think it's more likely that they're on the list than not on the list. And that's because one of them is already in the top 5 of their list. And one is, I think, ascending in that way. And so the cool takes are Jeffrey Simmons and Peter Skronski, not particularly surprising there. With Skronski being an honorable mention, we've talked about this a couple of times. He finished down the back half of last season once the Titans were, not on anybody's TV, hardly even in the Octo box on Red Zone. The only time that they were, I think, broadcast nationally in any capacity was whenever Will Levis was doing something funny enough to show on TV. And people in town were hardly paying attention. I was only paying attention, frankly, because I get paid to. During that period of time, the best pass blocking guard in the entire league, statistically, was Peter Skronski. So one could argue that he was one of, if not the best pass blocking guard. Anyway, no slouch in the run game either, but in his capacity to protect the passer, he was fantastic. And I think the context that matters even more to the importance of that argument is the fact that Austin, I don't know if you remember, the Titans offensive line did the whole, clown car revolving door routine down the back half of last year. It was not a consistent cast of characters, not always the most serious cast of characters out there, but Peter Skronski was consistently amongst them and consistently playing the best ball of his career, not particularly close, clearly taking that, as we've kind of talked about. His rookie year felt like a wash because of the surgery and the way that impacted his body and his development. Last year, even his coaches before, this is not revisionist history either, because the coaches this time last year before the season kind of talked about it this way, that we kind of see this as Peter's rookie year. And you saw a pretty traditional rookie learning curve, development path from him, the way that he really finished strong. And so if we're seeing this year as kind of his second year breakout kind of deal, I don't see why he wouldn't be on the list when he's already considered an honorable mention on that list. So I have some more thoughts on Jeffrey Simmons, but what do you think about Peter Skronski being on next year's list? Are you expecting that?
Yes, I'm putting it in the chat right now. How likely is Peter Skronski to be on the top 10 in his position? You can go on a 1 through 10 scale. On a 1 through 10 scale, how likely is he to be? I think he's probably, and this is interior O-line.
Yes.
So it's not just guards. So I think it's more crowded. It's a more crowded bunch.
Mm-hmm.
32 extra people that could fit there. Man, I think he is going to be on it. I think a 9 out of 10. Like it would take like another type of season altering injury or sorry. I mean, he's already, you go ahead and have an appendectomy once, right? As long as his gallbladder stays intact, I think he's in
let's keep the rest of the internal organs in one piece. Yeah. But
so, I don't know if he's got his tonsils out yet or not, but wisdom teeth, Skronski. But as long as those things are fine and his ligaments and tendons are also okay, I think Peter Skronski is going to be a top 10 interior offensive lineman in this go around next summer. So I'm at a 9 out of 10. That's pretty high.
Mm-hmm. Very high. I'm with you on that number. And I think the argument, and I'm seeing a lot of relatively similar, they're not quite as high as us actually in the chat. Duran and Kendall with 7s, 7.25, 10 from Steven. He's fully expecting it. Titans Kyle is 6, top tier in the 6 range, as is Orlando. Jeff a 7, Tall Texan an 8. Chris just says no, not expecting it. Ir Hoshi, the first guy I'm seeing below the median line there, as is Deborah, both 4s. So they're not quite buying it yet, but I'm seeing 9s, 7s, 8, 7.5, 8. So Austin, you and I are higher than the chat on this, but I think the reason why it's not a hard argument to make is because, again, right now he's between, I don't know how many honorable mentions there were. There were like 3 or 4.
I'm trying to pull it up.
Yeah, he's 12th, 13th, 14th, something like that.
Yeah.
the reason why it's not hard is because all of the guys we're about to talk about, the rest of this list, besides Jeffrey Simmons and Peter Skronski, have to take some kind of leap this year to justify being in the conversation. With Simmons, we know he's already on the list. With Skronski, he does not have to take a leap. If he makes no progress from the way he finished last year to the way that he plays this year, if he plays 17 games this year at the exact same level that he played in weeks 10 through 18 last year, then he will be on this list. And that's not accounting for, I don't think that he hit his ceiling last year. I think that he showed flashes of his ceiling, but I think that he has another gear that he's going to try to unlock this season to be maybe even more well-rounded a player on the line, because he's also somebody that Bill Callahan loves to pin and pull and send like a heat-seeking missile's the wrong word, wrecking ball in the run game. And he is really fantastic when he's utilized in that way, because he's a relatively athletic player on the inside. So I think that he's somebody that could be even better than he was last year. But even if he is not, he's going to be, I think, a top 10 guy in the interior because he finished the year that well.
And he's young. He's going into year 3. He's going into his second year healthy. I've heard, Ramon Foster, former, decade plus guard in the NFL, that year 3 is when that interior offensive lineman really hits that next stride of like, I kind of got it figured out mentally, physically, and takes a leap. And, with Peter Skronski, arguably the top offensive lineman in his draft class, but was it a guard or a college tackle in the Big Ten at Northwestern with tiny arms, short arms, who moved it? Like, I think it all made sense for him to make this stretch. Now, Cam Ward's burner says overrating Peter Skronski. So
I don't know about that,
but because I'm looking at it right now, Peter Skronski is the 5th listed honorable mention on the interior offensive linemen from ESPN.com this year. Robert Hunt from the Panthers, Eric McCoy of the Saints, Joel Bitonio of the Browns, Cam Jurgens of the Eagles. And then you have Peter Skronski, quote, thought he had an uneven start to his career, but he's improving and was playing well down the stretch last season, arrow pointing up, an NFL personnel director. And obviously that person probably did not realize that he had an appendectomy to start his career off. So right. I think he's
Cam Ward's burner, by the way, was not talking about Peter. He was replying to a different comment. So no shade to Cam Ward's burner.
Fair enough. Just trying. It's hard to see that sometimes.
Yeah.
But for me, maybe it is a 9. I'm kind of backtracking off my 9 a little bit because I'm looking at the others above him. Cam Jurgens is a younger player. You've got in the top 10, number 10, Linderbaum in Baltimore is 25 years old. Elton Jenkins from the Packers is 29, so he'll be 30 in a year. Then you have the Broncos, Quinn Meinerz. Meinerz is 26 years old. And you got a 28 Lindstrom. Joe Thuney might drop off. Honestly, he should, because he wasn't even playing interior last year. Right.
Well, yeah, he played a little bit of everything last year.
Yeah, but he's 32.
A sampling course for Joe Thuney.
The top 5 are 26 years old, 26 years old, 29 years old, 24 years old, and 26 years old. So, there's a lot of youth in the interior offensive line group, which is it's an exciting thing for the league. Because the league's been like, God,
sorely
needed
thing for the league.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm going to drop off of my 9. I think that's a little too aggressive because he is
I'm not.
5th.
I'm standing 10 toes down on the 9.
Okay. He's the 5th of the honorable mentions. That means guys have to fall back and he has to climb. So I'm going to say just a smidge. I'm going to say 8.5.
All right. Coward. All right. Let's go to the next. Let's go to the next group.
Well, did you want to say something more about Jeff?
Oh yeah, I forgot about Jeff. I mean, just kind of explaining the intrigue here, because obviously he's already number 4, so you'd have to have a big drop-off season to not be listed. I just think the intrigue is, we don't have to talk a whole lot about it, but like how high could he possibly be? Because we talked about this last week. I don't think that he's going to surpass the Hall of Fame caliber guys in the league, but the only Hall of Famer really at his position right now still playing is Chris Jones in Kansas City, right? He's not going up against Aaron Donald anymore in these rankings the way that he was for the first part of his career. So I think that The way that he played in 2021 and 2022, that ideal of Jeffrey Simmons that a lot of us are still hanging on to, and what he has declined from some in 2023 and 2024. If he can get back to that and kind of have that turnaround coincide with the improvement of the team this year, hopefully, I think that there's a world where, I've said this before. I think there's a world where he's the best pass rusher on the team, regardless of position this season, because he has to be. And if he has as strong a season as he did those 2 years ago, which I don't, that was a long time ago, but also I don't have any reason to believe that he's like fallen off physically in his ability to play that way. I just think he's had 2 down years when the Titans have had 2 down years. Like his performance has coincided with the decline of the team. So if the team bounces back, I could see Jeff bouncing back and bouncing even higher than 4th on this list.
Yeah, fair enough. So, but I think Jeff is going to, it would take a lot for Jeffrey Simmons to not be in the top 10 next year, because unlike the interior linemen, there's a lot of old dudes that are in the top 10 on the interior, on the defensive line. I don't want to get into edge versus D-line versus defensive end versus
this is really not hard, except for that one guy in the comments.
Everyone there was more than just one guy in the comments.
Okay, well,
there were several trolls that
the vast majority, but that's what they are, trolls. Even they know what we were talking about.
Okay, so we've gone. Those are the man. I have another topic. We might have to split this show up into 2. Like we might have to save some topics, because I think you missed somebody that deserves to be in the cool take. I think we might have to save our flaming takes for tomorrow's show and dive deeper into those.
All right.
If you're cool,
whatever we got to do. I mean, I don't care. I couldn't care less what we talk about between now and next Monday.
Okay, I think
about anything.
Honestly, I think we need to shave off the flaming takes from this show and move it to tomorrow, so we can spend, because Cam Ward's on, so we can spend more time about Cam Ward, maybe.
Sure.
And then we can talk about the top 10 from the quarterbacks that came out this morning that we haven't looked at yet. So I think you missed somebody in the cool take of top 10 at their position group next year, who's not on your warm take either. So I think you had a hole here. I'm curious to see if there could be reasoning behind your hole in this. And I'm curious to see if that's something you thought of. But real quick, the Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. When an injury happens in life, just like in football, you have to know the people that can get you back on track and deal with that injury, whether you need surgery, hopefully not, but they got you there if you need that, whether it's just some physical therapy, some rehab, understanding how to manage and monitor that injury from home, because injuries are just major inconveniences. Once you're an adult, you've got responsibilities, right? You got to go find that dog, right, Easton? You got all these responsibilities to take care of as an adult. You can't be on the sidelines with an injury, and the Bone and Joint Institute can take care of you online in Franklin when you need them, boneandjointtn.org.
There is so much more to say, but first make sure you've liked the show and then leave us a 5-star Google review. Search ATOZ Sports on Google. Hit that 5th star on the right, and then, or the 5th tomato. Bork is giving us 5 tomatoes this morning, which is almost as good as 5 stars. We would appreciate that over on Google. Leave whatever review you want. Write whatever you want. We'll read it. We will appreciate and treasure whatever feedback you have for us, but as long as it comes in the form of a 5-star review.
Absolutely. So Kindle is on it. I mean, if somebody gives you 5 tomatoes, what are you going to do with them, Easton?
I will turn them into a delicious spread of finger foods.
Okay. Good call. I would make a batch of enchiladas, and then I would turn around and make some soup and some stew.
I was thinking about like some caprese sandwich bites.
Ooh, caprese?
Yeah.
Bites?
Yeah.
Okay. None of that. All right. So you did miss somebody. Amani Hooker should be, in my opinion,
not
on this cool takes graphic, right? And I don't know if
so. To answer your question earlier, by the way, I did not just forget him. It was an active consideration and an active omission.
And my guess on why he's not is because his contract year.
No, actually, I think that's a reason. I think that's a reason in your favor, actually.
No. But the question is he likely to be which Titan is likely to be a top 10 player in 26? Will he be a Titan?
Oh, on a technicality, that's a good point. Actually, that's a sling in my arrow, or an arrow in my sling. What is it? Sling in my arrow? I don't know.
Arrow in your sling,
because the sling is the thing that holds the arrows, right?
Yes.
So that's an arrow
what
in
I
my
said.
sling. So but to your point, right? So in favor of him being on there is the fact that it's a contract year and players tend to get up for their contract years. On a technicality, I could be right in the sense that he might not be a Titan next year. That wasn't, neither of those things were reasons though. I mean, I didn't think about the technicality part. That part's that you'd think that I would be like, actually, but I didn't think about that.
Yeah, that's very on brand.
That sounds like me, but I didn't think about that. I did think about the fact that he could get up for a contract year. The reason why I did not put him on here, and we saw, by the way, another side note, which we don't have to go down this road. You follow Quandre Diggs on Twitter?
I don't, but I don't have to because he's in my feed all the time.
Okay, so you see Quandre Diggs on Twitter. Yeah. Has there ever been a non-Titan who just like operates online like a Titan more than Quandre Diggs?
Part of me thinks he's just going to show up on report day.
So do I. Like, is this guy around? Like, does he have some kind of handshake agreement that he's just going to be on the team that we don't know about?
I mean, he's Cam's cousin, like legitimately Cam's cousin.
Yeah, literally Cam's cousin.
And not like distant cousin, like they're cousins.
First cousins. Grew up together. Yeah. At the family reunion and everything. I don't know what the deal is with him, but it's not just like the Cam love and support makes sense. And he was gonna do that no matter where Cam ended up. But he's also just like, he just talks up like all his teammates on the Titans, like he's in the locker room. Like those are his boys. And like, he's just a good teammate, I guess, but it's just funny to me. Anyway.
I liked Quandre Diggs.
I loved
Quandre.
He was here
until he got hurt. And I thought he was playing really well. But I also think
he was fantastic. Yes.
He was somebody that he is somebody who is not the most physically gifted, right? He's really short, shorter than you expect from an NFL player when you see him in person. But I think he is somebody who like knows ball and
he's so sharp.
Sharp that where he sees somebody like Amani Hooker and like game recognized game, like sharp recognized sharp. Like that's where I see Quandre Diggs having a ton of respect for Amani Hooker because Amani Hooker is not Kyle Hamilton, right? He's not Brian Branch. He's not Xavier McKinney. He's not one of these guys who's like a first round talent, big body, long, physical, can just run out and jump out of the room too. But Amani Hooker does it all very, very well. And so I think watching Amani Hooker play safety, I'm curious to see if Xavier Woods next to him allows Amani Hooker to have a solid season because he doesn't have to worry about other people. And we've seen this with safeties of the past, going back to Michael Griffin, to Kevin Byard. Whenever they've had a safety in corners around them, where they've had to be like big brother and like help everybody else, their play deteriorates. Whenever they have guys next to them and in corners next to them that they can trust, they go ball. And I'm curious to see if Amani Hooker can go ball this year because he's got a veteran in Woods next to him. Snead healthy, maybe, who knows? Jarvis Brownlee growing up a little bit. Same thing with McCreary. Who knows with the pass rush, right? But I'm curious to see what Amani Hooker has as a year because I think when you're talking about who would you rather have as safeties, like Budda Baker or Amani Hooker? Like Minkah Fitzpatrick? Right. Like Minkah Fitzpatrick 4 years ago, maybe. Like, like Amani Hooker's
not good last year, yeah.
Yeah, right. Julian Love, I don't know much about, like, to be honest. Like I remember seeing him good player, but I don't remember, but Amani Hooker, not even on the table, like not an honorable mention, didn't receive any votes.
And that's why I brought up Quandre Diggs, by the way, is because everyone's like, probably wondering why I just randomly mentioned Quandre Diggs is because he was tweeting about no, it's fine. I just forgot to mention it. That he was kind of like on Twitter saying, what's the deal? Why is these guys aren't watching ball? That absolutely he belongs. Amani Hooker belongs to be on this list. I also never gave my reason for why I didn't include him, which is I really buried the lead there. The reason why, and I see in the comments, Randy saying Hooker's a little overrated. Hooker's a little underrated, actually. He's one of the better players on this Titans roster. Which again is a sling in your arrow for why you should be on this list. Why I ultimately did not put him on the list at all, not even under the warm takes, is because he is somebody that has proven to us that he can be fantastic, but he is not at his best when he has to babysit. He's not a fixer like Quandre Diggs is. Quandre Diggs, to your point, he doesn't win with his physicality. He's an aggressive player physically in that way, but he doesn't win with his
stature.
With his stature, his size, his speed. Amani, he can win that way. He's an above average safety athlete. And he is somebody that can be a heat-seeking missile, that can be a fantastic pass rusher, that can be good in the box, that can be a tight end eraser, that can cover over the top, that can pick up guys going long. Like, he can do it all, but he is not. And maybe I need to talk to more safeties about this, like what exactly the detail here is. My understanding of it is that there are certain guys like Quandre Diggs. Kevin Byard was this way at the end of his Titans career, where they are so mentally on top of really quarterbacking the defense, being the anti-quarterback, reading the quarterback's mind as the play is happening, the chess element of the sport, that they are seeing things before they happen and like, you know, warping time in that way to get to spots and to make other players on the defense right and being able to babysit when they need to babysit. Hooker has been asked to do that a couple of times the past 3 years, and every time it has given us a worse version of Hooker. Not a bad version of Hooker, but a worse version of him. He's not somebody like Quandre Diggs, who I think kind of shines in that role. And so the reason I didn't put him on this list is because I have so many questions this year about the linebackers and the cornerbacks on this team. In fact, the closer we get to training camp, the more questions I have and the more uneasy I feel about it. Some things that I'm writing about this week. I have a hard time seeing a setup for him, even though I'm with you that Xavier Woods, I think, is going to be a clear upgrade alongside him as compared to the back half of last year. I don't know if Xavier Woods is going to be a better player than Quandre Diggs was the first 8 weeks of the season last year, because Quandre was playing some really fantastic ball.
And guess what? The defense was good too.
Right. We talked about that a ton, right? How losing Quandre Diggs and Ernest Jones was what broke the defense. Literally those two guys. I think Quandre was playing really good, but more importantly, he was a fantastic complement, I think, to the way that Amani Hooker wants to play. I'm not sure Xavier Woods is going to be that, but I am sure that Xavier Woods is going to be a clear upgrade over who was playing alongside, largely Mike Brown. No offense to Mike Brown, who was playing alongside Hooker down the stretch. So that's going to be helpful. I just don't think, and by the way, we've talked about how not secretly, but like quietly crazy bullish, at least I am, on Kevin Winston Jr., if and when he starts to be a part of this team. But the strength of the safety room aside, the rest of the things that those safeties are going to have to make right on the back end, I think is going to be too much to give us the best version of Hooker. I hope that I'm wrong, but that's why I did not have him on my list, because I don't know if he's in the best ecosystem to be a guy that makes the list next year.
Well, it's because, you know, when there's uncertainty around a safety, they have to do and be what their position namesake is, safety. They can't be aggressive. Like, they cannot be as aggressive because they're having to clean up other people's mess as the last line of defense. And so that's where I think Amani Hooker probably was just not on the radar at all last year, because he was forced to clean up and have extra tackles down the field, not making aggressive play, even though he had like 4 interceptions and, you know, several batted passes and tackle. He's still putting up a lot of production. It's just not standing out because of what else was there.
Has he ever been on this list? That best year with so. Well, there was that one year that he and Byard were clearly the best safety tandem in the league, and there were a lot. I remember there being a lot of lists at the end of that year being like, did the Titans have 2 of the top 10 safeties in the league on their roster? I'd bet you that year he was at least an honorable mention. What year would that have been? 21, 22? I'll look it up if
I'm mid Google, so
I'm trying to find on PFF. I'm trying to find when it would have been his best season.
No, I don't think there was one. We're gonna have to rely on the old AI overview, and it calls Dan Moore the worst.
That's reliable.
No, and so
Hooker's best season was 2021. He was, by PFF grade, he was the 5th ranked safety overall out of 174 in 2021. So if he wasn't on that list, that was a massive snub.
In 22, right?
No, that was 2021.
No, I know, but like going into 22.
Oh, excuse me. Yeah. Yes. The 2022 list. Did you pull up that ESPN list?
I did not. No, but
I'll find it. We can move on, but I'll find it.
Yeah, but so all right. No, so you'll do that. So I think interesting conversation on that. So I'm because we had to spend an extra 10 to 15 minutes on Amani Hooker, we're going to have to put our flaming takes from Easton on tomorrow's show and give them their own show. But Easton, you do have 4 Titans players on the warm take. So you kind of reset a little bit because I got us off track organically. Titans players most likely to jump to top 10 status at their position after this season. We've gone through the cool takes that Easton has. Jeffrey Simmons, who's number 4 at defensive lineman this year, and Peter Skronski, who is a honorable mention on interior offensive line this year. So now we've got the warm takes, Easton. You have 4 players. We'll go through them. 3 second-year guys with Jarvis Brownlee Jr., Devondre Sweat, and J.C. Latham, and running back Tony Pollard. We're going to talk about these guys individually.
Man, crazy snub on the 2021 list. I found it.
Okay.
Kevin Byard was number 7, and Amani Hooker wasn't mentioned once in the entire article, which is insane if he was the 5th best safety in the league. But
continues to get overlooked
that's
over
right.
and over and over. All right.
Well, hey, that's a sling in my or the arrow in my sling is that if you didn't make it that year, people just hate Amani Hooker. Apparently, the league doesn't know.
He just doesn't. They
don't know.
It just does.
Quandra Diggs was right. These folks aren't watching tape.
Yep. All right. So warm takes here. I want to ask it this way to save time to an extent, and we'll talk through all these guys.
All right.
Which of these 4 is most likely to be in the top 10 of their position next year? Which of these 4 is most likely to be a top 10 player at their position going into next season, after this year, going into 2026? Would it be Jarvis Brownlee Jr. going into his 3rd year at corner, Devondre Sweat, 3rd year defensive lineman alongside Jeffrey Simmons, or J.C. Latham, 3rd year offensive tackle, or Tony Pollard going into his 3rd year with the Titans at running back there? So which of those 4 is most likely to be a top 10 player at their position? But first, let me tell you guys about our friends at Barton Drury Insurance Group, customized solutions for all of your insurance needs. They can take care of you with whatever you're looking for, because insurance is so important. Health coverage is so important. If you are a renter, rental insurance is massive. If you're a homeowner, you got to have that home. You can pair it with your auto. You can have umbrella coverage, life insurance, 401k planning, whatever it is. Barton Drury Insurance Group has you covered. They were 2 companies, and they said, guess what? We will be better together as one. So they merged their powers and became Barton Drury Insurance Group. They are local. Those 4 guys on the screen are local to the Nashville area. They're big sports guys. They support the teams in the area. The Titans, unfortunately, there's an Ole Miss guy in there as well. But they also are massive, massive help when it comes to knowing how to use your insurance for your benefit, for your family's benefit. If you're an employer like I am, like Zach and I am, that's where we got our employee benefits, through Barton Drury Insurance Group. They're right there for you all the way, every step along the way, online at bartondrury.com.
There's so much more to say, but first, make sure you have liked the show and then leave us a 5-star Google review. Search ATOZ Sports on Google, hit that 5th star on the right, hit submit, and we will be your best friends. So do that for us, and then hit us up, and we'll say thank you.
I feel like I talk and go back and forth more with Big Ten Jeff than I do some of my best friends in life. So
what does that say about your relationships?
I just think it means that Jeff just doesn't go away. He's just always here. 5 days a week, he's right here. So,
sure.
All right. So going through Titans players most likely to jump into top 10 status at their positions after this year. Your warm takes, Easton: Brownlee Jr., Devondre Sweat, Tony Pollard, J.C. Latham. Which of these 4 is most likely to be a top 10 player at their position next year, going in the next season, after this season? So what are you seeing from the chat here, Easton? I'll let you start there.
What are we seeing from the chat? I am scrolling and seeing Latham from MB and Christopher, Devondre Sweat from Stephen Crocio, JC Latham from Raz Biggie, Cam likes Sweat, so does Kyle. JC comfortably, says Damian. Andrew, Hoshi, all say Latham. Eric says Sweat, too many good corners for Brownlee to make it. JC, Sweat. So I'm not seeing a single Brownlee so far, not seeing a single Pollard so far. It seems to be a showdown between the top 2 picks from the Titans 2024 draft class, Austin.
Okay. So what information do we have? We do not have the top 10 running backs yet from ESPN.com.
We do. Yeah, he was not even mentioned.
Right. Pollard. Yeah. Oh, well, because Bill Barnwell's like, he was 20th or dead last in efficiency rating, success rate, whatever the hell. Yeah, because they sucked.
Nerd.
Overall. Yeah, nerd. Come on. Tony Pollard was a beast last year. So he was not even mentioned at running back. We do not have corners yet.
No.
We do have tackles. We do have defensive linemen. So what do you think, Easton? These are your warm takes, right? So who has the best path to a top 10 player at their position a year from now?
It's Latham, and that's partially because of the upside for Latham and the expectations that I have for him, but it's also because I think the other guys have technically more difficult paths. I agree with whoever a moment ago said that there are just so many good corners. It's going to be hard for Brownlee to make that list, especially in 1 year, right? Because it would be, to make that list, it would be based on just one season, and he'd have to really break out in that way. Not impossible. I think that's why I put it in warm takes, not flaming takes, because there's a world in which he's your cornerback one for a lot of the year, unfortunately. Hopefully that's not the world that we live in, but you never know. And if so, he could rise to the occasion. And if he is good in that star role, then that's going to be a lot of exposure for him. With who am I talking about? T'Vondre Sweat. The reason why I find it difficult for him is just because if you go back and look at that defensive tackle list, it's really difficult for these nose tackle types to crack into that conversation. Like, there are only so many Jordan Davis types and Vita Vea types on the planet that are physically capable of, one, being that size, two, being the brick wall in the run game that you need them to be, first and foremost, but then three, having another gear on top of that to really impact in an offensive manner the passing game and be a wrecker in the middle of the defense. Now, I put T'Vondre in the warm take section because I think that he is physically capable of being one of those super duper rare guys in that way if he takes a step up in his pass rush ability this season. But it's just harder for those guys to get on there than a Jeffrey Simmons build. So I think that's kind of difficult. And then with Pollard, I think Pollard kind of falls into that Hooker category of guy that's just not going to get his respect. I don't think it's impossible for him to have a better year this year than he did last year. I wrote at AtoZSports.com a couple of weeks ago, that the plan this year is for him to get more from less this season. And so I think you could see for the Bill Barnwells out there, I think you could see, some increased efficiency, some more explosives, those on paper things that you like to see when you're maybe making these lists. But I just, I don't know how he goes from not even mentioned based on last year's performance to, and he's not that old, right? He's turning 28, 29 this year, something like that. I think he's turning 28. I think I could be wrong. But I don't see that jump from him necessarily. With Latham, I do see that ability. I think the stars are aligned for him. He's moving back to right tackle, the position he played in college, the position his coaches seem to think. I don't know if I buy it yet, but we'll see it. They seem to think that it's a more natural position for him, that it's a position that maybe plays to his strengths a little bit better than left tackle. He's going into year 2 in the Bill Callahan system. So he's, not drowning in that program, that boot camp that Bill Callahan runs. He has talked about how he has a much better feel for things. He underwent a dramatic physical transformation that's supposed to maximize his athleticism. I think that there is every reason in the world on paper right now, and he's going into year 2 in the NFL, which just in general for tackles, that sophomore leap tends to be a big one. So I think you got every reason in the world right now to believe that he can be a breakout tackle this year and one of the best in the league.
Okay. So I think, where do I want to start with this? Because I think there's definitely paths. I'll start with the tackles because you just kind of finished there. The good thing for the Jason Latham argument is you've got Deion Dawkins, who's 31, Laramie Tunzel, who's 30, and new team. Then you've got top 4 guys, Trent Williams, who's 36. Like, is he going to retire? Then you have Lane Johnson, 35, that, he's probably going to retire in the top 4. So you've got 3
Wait, you
guys.
think those guys are retiring this year?
After this year?
Lane Johnson is not retiring after this year.
Dude, I'm surprised Lane Johnson didn't.
He had arguably his best year of his career last year.
Dude, I follow the Eagles. I married into an Eagles family. Like, Lane Johnson is a year-to-year situation. Like, just like Jason, like, that's, and it's the fact of, like, his body. It's all these things. It's the fact of, like, they won the Super Bowl. He's got juice to come back again. I don't look.
I'm surprised that wasn't go out on top. Make that where you retire.
Yeah, but that O-line is just
It's too good.
too fun, and they're too tight knit to just stop. Trent Williams, he's gonna have to retire, right? At some point.
I think it's more likely that neither of these guys retire than one of them retire. I don't agree with you at all that they're going to retire.
I think Lane Johnson's more likely to retire after this year. Yeah.
All right, that's a random side bet we have now.
Well, there you go.
If anyway, we're definitely going to forget it, but it exists.
I won't forget it.
For the record.
Yeah, Laremy Tunsil, I question how good is Laremy Tunsil?
Well, how big of a locker room cancer is he? Because that was made pretty obvious.
And he also just does.
He is good.
He's good when he's not creating penalties too.
Sure, he's got a little Taylor Lewan to him,
and he just kind of jumpy,
Yeah, but he's also incredible. He's also one of the best tackles we've seen in the last 10 years.
No, I know. He is ridiculously talented. I get it, but he's a headache, right?
People in the chat saying Lane is falling apart. Are we watching different sports? Lane is not falling apart. He was fantastic last year.
I know. He puts himself together for Sundays, and then it's like a true Bruce Matthews situation. I watched Bruce Matthews. You want to go on a tangent. Back when Bruce Matthews, his last couple of years with the Titans, I was playing the old Brentwood Blaze football, where another person on this honorable mention list, Jake Matthews, was also playing Blaze football, Bruce's son. And Bruce got a golf cart to ride around the Blaze football fields on game days to watch his son, so he did not have to walk, so he could go play the next day. That is Lane Johnson's in that type of spot in his career. Do as much as you can to not do anything so you can play on Sunday. Listen,
Lane Johnson might be falling apart from Monday to Saturday, but on Sunday on my television screen, that is not a man that's falling apart.
Right. So again, there are 30-plus-year-olds in the ahead of J.C. Latham.
You didn't mention number one, by the way, who's going to miss an unspecified amount of time this year.
Who's
Tristan Wirfs?
Oh, Tristan Wirfs.
Right. So obviously a better tackle than J.C. Latham, but if and when he comes back and how good he is when he comes back from that knee thing, which is a massive story for the Buccaneers, could impact his ability to be on this list. It could be I'm not wishing this upon him. I hope that he's back ASAP, but it's got the makings of a kind of a washed season for the guy.
Maybe, but I doubt he just drops all the way off. He's going to get the benefit of the doubt to be on.
He'll get the benefit of the doubt, but if he just straight up doesn't play much of the year, then, it'll be like when he comes back, we'll put him back on the list kind of thing.
Right. So I don't know I just think there's too many bodies. And I think there's too many tackle bodies on teams that are going to get more attention than the Titans for JC to make a jump.
Well, you said yourself you think there's two spots up for grabs.
Yeah, I know, but Jake Matthews, Joe Alt, Ronnie Stanley, Taylor Decker are probably right there to jump in. I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, Joe Alt's going to be on that Mac Jones trajectory. First year is the best year. It's all downhill from here.
Yeah, maybe. No, running backs, I think Tony Pollard should be. I think Tony Pollard should be the answer to this question.
But it won't be, because he's not going to get the love.
It's crazy because
you got to know the voters.
Which is wild because he was a freaking Cowboy. If he was with the Cowboys, he'd get votes.
Of course. But he's not anymore.
Because Joe Mixon
he's the worst kind of player. He's a former disgraced Cowboy, which means you're dead to the league.
Who would you rather have, James Conner or Tony Pollard?
Tony Pollard. What? Gross. I mean, listen, I'm James Conner, fantasy football legend. Love James Conner.
From what year?
Team. Still sneaky every year, fantasy football, serviceable player. James Conner is a legend amongst the fantasy people. Trust me. But in the real world, nobody ever talks about James Conner for good reason.
I think I think Tony Pollard should be Bucky Irving was great rookie year out of nowhere for Tampa. Aaron Jones, still a dude. Devon A-Chain, Dolphins. We'll kind of see what
Aaron Jones is going to fall off that list.
Probably so.
He's falling.
But he's an honorable mention, so I'm not even getting.
Aaron Jones is losing his job this year. I don't know if folks realize that or not.
Maybe
he's not going to be a starter by the end of the year.
Breece Hall, can he stay healthy?
Right. Never know.
And then you've got again, so many names: Kyron Williams, David Montgomery, Brian Robinson, Chuba Hubbard, DeAndre Swift, Kenneth Walker. All these names mentioned to get votes, but Tony Pollard, 0. Alvin Kamara is probably dropping down a little bit. Bad Saints offense coming, although he's going to put up numbers because he's the only guy who can put up numbers.
Still sneaky good, Alvin.
Oh, yeah, he's great. I love Alvin Kamara, but still, it's just he's probably more even with Tony Pollard at this point than he was years ago. Joe Mixon, James Cook's a beast, right? Jonathan Taylor, I don't believe in that much. But I think it should be Tony Pollard. I just don't. Honestly, 0 of the 4 are going to be in top 10.
You'd be given if somebody in the chat said that, you'd be giving him crap because that wasn't the question, Austin.
No, my answer was Tony Pollard. My answer to the question was Tony Pollard.
You said it should be Tony Pollard, but it won't be.
Yeah, well, the question is who is most likely of the 4. Tony Pollard's most likely of the 4, but I don't think any of the 4 will be.
Oh, I don't think so. I think you just sat here and explained why it should be Pollard, but it won't be Pollard. So I don't think it should be. Likely.
Okay. You still think it's JC?
Yeah. If Pollard would basically have, like, you talk about Jonathan Taylor, you don't quite believe in him. He had 1,400 yards last year, right? Double-digit touchdowns. That's what Pollard would have to do to, I think, force himself into the conversation. And he got to 1,000 last year, scrapping and clawing his way. But I don't see that upside this season unless he's going to get less touches this year. God willing, he's going to get less touches. So he's going to be really freaking efficient on those touches to get 400 more yards than he did last year and score a lot more. I don't know.
So our host, he says, you're on the fence, Austin. I'm not on the fence. I answered the question.
Get off the fence, Austin.
I didn't say who's going to be. The question was not who's going to be. The question is who's most likely to be. So the best chance, I think, is Tony Pollard because I think he's the best player of the 4. But I don't think any of those 4 are going to be top 10 at their position next year. According to the list.
I am willing to bet that JC Latham's name is at least evoked in that article next year.
Oh, he will be after 10. Yes. He will be in the group of honorable mentions or receiving votes.
I think there's a chance he's in the 10.
But
I'm confident he'll be in there somewhere.
I think there's a chance that all the 3 guys not Jarvis Brownlee will be mentioned and hyperlinked in the article next year.
I think there's a chance Jarvis. I mean, listen, we are underselling the fact that Jarvis might be your cornerback 1 for most or all of the season. That's a thing that could happen.
Yeah, but that's a lot of corners in the league.
Yes, but we've talked about this recently too. Cornerback play is as finicky as it comes in the NFL. Like, I guarantee if you went, I'm not doing this, but if you went and charted the rise and fall off and new edition of these lists every year by position, I am willing to bet significant money that the cornerback list year to year is the least consistent, that it feels the most random year to year, because that's what cornerback play is, man.
Agree.
So these guys just out of nowhere have incredible seasons and then out of nowhere have fall off seasons. So while I'm not sitting here saying, like, I'm writing literally today, I'm in the middle of writing about how Brownlee has to prove it to me that he's even a starter, right? Like, I think that's where we're at right now. But these guys go from, I need him to prove it to be a starter, to holy crap, is he the best corner in the league? So fast, much faster than in the other positions in the league, just because it's a weird position. It's a weird position.
It is a weird position. It is. Okay. So we are saving the flaming takes for tomorrow. So you've got more players that will be in the who's going to make the top 10 of their positions tomorrow. I think that was the correct decision after we talked 53 minutes about and hadn't even got to that point yet. So we will have that coming too. We do have Rockin' Rando, where the goal is I try to find the most random NFL player that I think the chat is most likely to know that Easton doesn't. I'm sticking with a theme of today. I like doing themes from the show. So I just uploaded my graphic. We'll get to our Rockin' Rando here in a second. It is a former Titan. But first, I'm going to tell you guys about Wilson County Hyundai. WilsonCountyHyundai.com is where to go make them a part of your new car buying process. See them in Lebanon or online at WilsonCountyHyundai.com. They'll help you save money and not pay those downtown prices. for your new ride. So shout out to WilsonCountyHyundai.com. All right, Easton, hide the chat. So you're rocking rando.
I'm also relatively okay. Chat is hidden. I'm relatively certain this is going to be somebody that played with Bruce Matthews.
It's not.
Oh, okay. I thought that's where you were going to
go. Nope. Who is this? Who is this former Titan?
I don't know. I feel like I'm going to be laughed at if I say the wrong name. This feels like a guy that should be relatively obvious.
Don't be scared.
Once again, it's bad news whenever you're giving me a guy that is in the
white helmets.
No, 144p, the lowest resolution photo ever.
Well, I had to zoom it in to crop the.
Yeah, well, 28. I mean, it's obviously Chris Johnson, right?
Yeah, right.
Man, I don't know.
There's a lot of wrong answers, but there is a right answer in there.
I mean, I got nothing. I'm gonna have to hint or something.
You want a position?
He like, I don't know. His shoulder pads tell me that he's a defender.
Correct.
Right. Okay. He looks like a DB.
Safety.
Okay. It's not like Michael Griffin, is it?
No.
He's got Michael Griffin hair. Yeah, I'm wondering if I'm even going to know this guy's name at this point.
The chat is growing onto it. There were incorrect answers. The first incorrect
even the chat was slow to get it. Okay.
Actually, the first answer from the chat was the correct answer.
Good for whoever that was.
Cap said Chris Henry. No.
I could have told you it wasn't Chris Henry.
Chris Hope, not Chris Hope.
Could have told you it wasn't Chris
Johnson.
Hope.
Not Jonathan Cyprian. Not Denoris Searcy. Not Lance Schulters.
I don't know some of these names. I've never heard of Lance Schulters in my life.
You never heard of Lance Schulters? That was my dude, man.
Never.
Have you ever heard of Tank Johnson?
Nope.
Well, this isn't who that is. This is Lamont Thompson. Shout out to Todd, who was the first on it. But Lamont Thompson, Titan safety from 03 to 06.
Speaking of people I've never heard of. So, not only did I not recognize the guy, I didn't recognize the guy because I've never heard of the guy.
Tank Williams. I said Tank Johnson. Tank Johnson.
Tank Williams.
Tank Williams and Lance Schulters were the safety duo after Blaine Bishop and Marcus Robinson.
I've never heard of Tank Williams or Tank Johnson, for the record. So,
who is Tank Johnson?
I've heard of Tank Bigsby.
Yeah. No, Lance
Tank
Schulters.
Johnson. There's definitely some Tank Johnsons out there in the football world. That is. But yeah, I have never heard of that guy. Sorry, I was 3 years old. Sounds like he wasn't
Thompson was a second-round pick for the Bengals, 41st overall.
For the Titans?
No, Lamont Thompson was a constant headache. He was like
so no wonder I haven't heard about him.
He was the king of being like just one step behind.
He stunk on some mediocre to bad Titans teams.
There was a couple good teams in there. Then there was
it wasn't quite the late 2010s or the right around 2010s where things really fell apart, but
he was a part of the last ditch effort playoff teams before like the salary cap purge, and then some bad teams before, and then Vince Young showed up.
Marco says, you need to know your history to work for the Titans. Please study Easton. That's true. Good thing I don't work for the Titans. That's the most common thing people misunderstand about my job. I think 97% of the world that knows me, they're like, oh, Easton works for the Titans. Sure doesn't.
Okay.
I was at a church event last night, like a social thing, and I got at least 3 or 4 like, you work for the Titans, right? Well, not quite. I work around the Titans. And which Titans?
You can't give me tickets.
Oh, that's the other thing, man. That's brutal, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, largely people aren't dumb enough to think that I have just free tickets to hand out. But I do often, I say dumb enough, that's rude. People aren't mistaken enough to think that I have tickets to hand out. But I do get a lot of like, do you have like a way for me to get tickets? And I'm like, yeah, Ticketmaster. Like, I don't have an in. I don't know anything about the. I actually know way less about the whole ticket operation than the average fan because I don't deal with those anymore. So,
yeah, I mean, we get free tickets to Holiday World and we give them to you.
Yeah. Even my own dad, who my dad knows my job very well. I'm not throwing shade at my dad, but this was the first time that I had to. I did say what?
You can throw shade at your dad tomorrow if you want to.
That's true. This is not shade. This is specifically not shade. But we did golf this weekend, and for the first time in a long time, I had to correct him about my job. He was like, I told him I was going to go to the Denver game in week 1, and he was like, "Oh, do you already have tickets?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "It's an away game. Do you have tickets?" I'm like, "Do you know what I do for like? Do you know who I am?" Hi, I'm Easton. I'm like, Dad, I can go to the Super Bowl for free if I want to. Like, I can get into these games.
If the NFL will allow it.
Have you seen who they let into the Super Bowl press box? I could get into the Super Bowl press box. It is a shockingly low bar.
Yeah, it just depends on if the Titans are there, then yes, you'll get in.
No, but like, even if they weren't, I wouldn't, because it would be a waste of money. But like, theoretically, I could just on any given year apply for the Super Bowl and get in. I had to explain that to him. That like, I could just go to pretty much any game in the league. I could talk my way into it. It wouldn't be hard. So,
all right, that's it.
Sorry, Dad.
Just walks in, but you don't know who Lamont Thompson is, so
I just show up. Yeah,
you couldn't pass that test.
Well, if that was the bar to get in, I would be going to no games. So
that's right. All right, tomorrow, flaming takes of Titans likely to jump into top 10 status of their position after this year. We'll get to that. Make sure you have more content, A2ZSports.com coming. Buck Rising has some content out there. Prime time tonight at 7. We'll be back tomorrow morning. Appreciate it as always. We'll catch you then. Talk to you later.